Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, my name is Edward Smith and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of an audio interface comparison. We're going to be comparing a $50 audio interface to a $200 audio interface with a few audio interfaces in between that cost $100, $120 and $180, because I know that a lot of you out there are looking to maybe upgrade your audio interface. You just don't know if it's worth it, or you're really going to get that much of a difference if you just jump up maybe $50 or $100 from your audio interface current price. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how good and how big the difference is between these audio interfaces, and hopefully this helps you figure out which audio interface you should get or if you really need to upgrade. So before we jump into things, I'd first like to ask you to please smash that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up as it helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you end up being interested in any of these audio interfaces, I will leave them linked down in the description below. And then last but not least, make sure you hang around all the way till the end of this video, because I am going to do a sound test comparison between each one, and trust me, you don't want to miss it because the difference between these are actually quite shocking. But without any further ado, let's see what these audio interfaces are all about. So the first thing that we're going to have a look at when comparing this audio interface is have a look at the number of inputs and outputs that you get. And starting off with the Behringer U-Phoria UM2, this audio interface has two inputs. One input is a combination input that can take an XLR microphone and TRS input, and then we have one line input that's a TRS input like a guitar jack, which is pretty much the cheap option and the standard way audio interfaces start off when you're on a very tight budget. And on the outputs we have an RCA output, which is also the cheaper option to go for when it comes to outputs connecting to a studio monitor. The next audio interface that we have here is the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96, which is one of the best budget options to go for, coming with two combination inputs which can take both an XLR and a TRS connection for a microphone or guitar. And then your outputs are TRS outputs, which are the preferred outputs that you want to have for higher end studio monitors. And then we also have MIDI outputs for those of you that want to connect an older MIDI keyboard. So just an additional feature which is really nice with this audio interface. And then moving on to the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, this audio interface also has two inputs. One input is an XLR input. It's not a combination input, so you can't put a TRS connection into this XLR input, but you do have a TRS connection on this side for a guitar. And then your outputs are balanced line outputs that are TRS outputs, so also the preferred outputs for studio monitors. And then we have our Tascam US 2x2 HR audio interface. This audio interface is very similar to the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96. You get two condenser microphone inputs, XLR inputs, and TRS inputs, balanced combination jack, so really nice. And then on the back you have balanced TRS outputs for your studio monitors, and you also have MIDI connections for an older MIDI keyboard, which is also nice, similar to the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96. And then last but not least, we have the Audient ID4 MK2, which is an audio interface that comes with two inputs, similar to the Behringer U-Phoria UM2. It has a combination jack at the back that can take a TRS input and an XLR condenser microphone, and then in the front you can plug in your guitar with this TRS line input. Moving on to the next thing that we can have a look at when comparing these audio interfaces, and that is the overall build quality. And starting off with the Behringer U-Phoria UM2, obviously you can't expect the best build quality because it is the cheapest one of our list, and in this case it doesn't have the best quality at all. It is fully plastic, it's very light, it does feel cheap, the knobs feel plasticky and cheap, but like I said, you can't expect the best. Moving on to the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96, this audio interface feels a lot more solid. It has a metal casing, everything about it feels solid and sturdy. It doesn't have the best kind of feel and design, but it is very solid and the materials used are very durable. Moving on to the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, everything about this audio interface is a good mix between lightness and good build quality, because it's not too heavy like the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96 or that big, but it does have that solid metal casing all around with knobs that feel really good. And one thing I forgot to mention is that the knobs on the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96 is not that great at all. So when you move on to this one, you're definitely getting better quality knobs and a better feel in that kind of department. And then moving on to the Tascam US2x2HR, this audio interface is very solid, very nice. Everything about it is steel metal casing. The knobs feel pretty good. This is a very well built audio interface. These bottom switches are kind of plastic, which is a little bit of a letdown because everything else is quite solid. The knobs are also a little bit plastic, but everything about this audio interface is quite solid in terms of build quality, and it will definitely last you a very long time. And then last but not least, the Audient ID4, which is definitely got the best build out of all of them. The knobs feel exceptional. Everything about this audio interface in terms of feel and steel casing and all of that kind of thing is just a solid and beautifully built audio interface, and when you pick it up you can definitely feel quality and premium class compared to the rest. And the last thing that we can have a look at when comparing these audio interfaces is having a look at the sound quality and the quality of the preamps in these audio interfaces. And I can easily tell you that this sounds better than that or this sounds better than that, but I'd first rather have you guys listen to the sound quality test coming up right now so that you can just decide for yourself, and then I'll give you guys my final pick on these audio interfaces and who I think they are best for. So I now have the Behringer U-Phoria UM2 set up and ready to go, and this is what our $50 audio interface sounds like. So I now have the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96 set up and ready to go, and this is what our $100 audio interface sounds like. So I now have the Focusrite Scarlett Solo 3rd generation audio interface set up and ready to go, and this is what our $120 audio interface sounds like. And this is what this audio interface sounds like when I have the air features switched on. So I now have the Tascam US2x2HR audio interface set up and ready to go, and this is what our $180 audio interface sounds like. So I now have the Audient ID4 audio interface set up and ready to go, and this is what our $200 audio interface sounds like. So now that we've gone through our overall inputs and outputs, build quality and sound quality and preamp quality of each audio interface, it's time to pick the right one for you. And like I mentioned in the beginning, we have the Behringer U-Phoria UM2, which is a $50 audio interface. We have the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96, which is a $100 audio interface. We have the $120 Focusrite Scarlett Solo, $180 Tascam US2x2HR, and the $200 Audient ID4. And to be honest, I'm actually quite surprised how good the Behringer U-Phoria UM2 sounds compared to the $200 Audient ID4. As you can tell, you don't really need the best in terms of money and that much of a more expensive audio interface. You just get a little bit more quality. You can really get away with the Behringer U-Phoria UM2 in terms of audio quality. But getting back to who I would pick each audio interface for, if you're someone that's a beginner, really just starting out, trying to put together a studio setup in your home, you haven't really been doing this for a long time, the Behringer U-Phoria UM2 is a great option for you. If you're someone that is looking for MIDI outputs and you want to have a quality audio interface that isn't necessarily like the best looking or the best sounding, but it's got a lot of features for a very low price, the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96 is for you. If you're someone that's a vocalist and you want a good sounding vocal, you don't need all the features, you just want a high quality sounding vocal for quite a good price, with the Focusrite Air feature, you're really going to get some good quality. And I think that for those of you in that specific scenario, this is a great option. And then same with the PreSonus Audio Box USB 96. If you're looking for a lot of features, but you're looking for an audio interface that can do it even better than the audio box, which obviously costs a little bit more, then this Tascam US2x2HR is really a great option. It's so nice in terms of the features, and the sound is really good, as you guys heard. But then last and not least, the Audient ID4, which is definitely my favorite by far, not just because it's the most expensive and you always think of going for the most expensive audio interface, but because of the sound quality and the build quality and the look. For me, it ticks all of the boxes, and for the price, yes, you want to have 2 combination jack outputs when it comes to microphones and things like that, but for a lot of us, you only have one microphone, you're only recording one at a time. If you are a singer-songwriter, you're going to be setting up a microphone and playing guitar, so that does give you this ability with this audio interface. So it does give you everything you need, but in terms of sound quality, it's just so clear and so pure, and you can definitely tell that there's a big difference between this and the others. Not that big for a beginner to notice, but for someone like me that's really been going through this for quite a while, you can definitely hear that the preamp quality of this ID4 and the Scarlett Air feature, those two together is really the best out of these audio interfaces. So that brings this video to an end of my comparison between a $50, $100, $120, $180 and $200 audio interface. And just a reminder that if you're interested in any of these audio interfaces, I have left them linked down in the description below. Secondly, if you have any questions about today's video, just leave a comment down below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you loved it, subscribe down below, and I will see you for another video next time.